Hey y'all, a quick disclaimer. During the video, I say that Mexico gained its independence in 1824, and that is actually not factual. Mexico celebrated its independence on September 16th, 1810. So I'm very sorry about that. 1824 is the date of Mexico's first constitution as a sovereign nation, and that was the confusion there. Anyway, apologies to everyone. I'm trying to research these videos and make them as accurate as possible. Also, if you have anything you want to add about the Mexican Revolution, etc., or just memories of the American Girl books you'd like to share, hey, leave them in the comments. I love to learn, and if I have mispronounced any words, please call me out on that. I appreciate y'all. Welcome to Pisces season, everyone. The best season of the whole year. The whole astrological year. I couldn't let Pisces season come and go without spotlighting my favorite Piscean American girl, Josefina Montoya. So, Josefina Montoya was part of the, quote, second generation of American Girl characters. Beginning in 1994, the original was Samantha, Kirsten, Addie, and Molly. And around 1998, they added characters Josefina and Felicity Merriman. And we will get to Felicity, don't worry. But today, we are going to talk about my favorite Piscean American girl, Josefina Montoya. And she was born on March 19th. So, she is one of the few American girls whose birthday we're aware of. And that is very useful in making astrological natal charts of a fictional character. So we'll talk some more about that, but right now we are going to take it all the way back to 1824, okay? And during this time, Spain was in control of Mexico. It was a Spanish territory. I think in the sequel books to Josefina, one's called The Glowing Heart, and it's an excellent sequel to the original 5-book run. It's a mystery novel. And they talk about how Mexico has gained its independence. But this was 1824, and Spain ruled Mexico. That was a minute ago, right? That was about 30 years before the beginning of the Civil War. So the book series, Josefina, it follows Josefina, of course, an American girl, growing up in 1824, New Mexico. But this is one of the few American Girl books where the American Girl's siblings are given just as much of a voice and a presence in the story. And I'm not saying the siblings of like Kirsten or Felicity or Molly are not important to the story. They are. But this book needs to be called Josefina Montoya and her sisters, I think, because it's equally about all 4 of the sisters. So there are 4 Montoya sisters, and they are growing up on their father's rancho, which is a large farm that raises, in this case, sheep and goats and horses in New Mexico in 1824. They live next to a Pueblo Indian settlement, and they live next to a village. And the rancho's kind of you don't really understand. Classism isn't exactly discussed in these books on a very complex level. But I always get the feeling that Josefina and her sisters and her papa, who owns the rancho, are kind of the more upper class in the village. And so they have servants, so forth. They have one servant who is a Navajo woman named Teresita. She's really cool. I'll talk about her in a bit. So the story, Meet Josefina, the first book, and we're going to be focusing on the final book in the series called Changes for Josefina, because it's a great wrap-up to the series, and a lot of great stuff happens in the series, and I kind of want to talk about it all in one place. So this is definitely my way of cheating. So Josefina and her sisters at this point are grieving the loss of their dear mama, their mother, who died of an illness, and it's not specified what illness, but this is 1824. People were dying of things like pneumonia and measles and mumps and things like that. So I'm not shocked that someone would die of, quote, natural causes during this time. And one thing you don't realize in this book is you never see a picture of Mama or You just know about her through their memories, and she seems like this very wise matriarchal figure, which she is. But Mama Montoya is hella young. Her sister, Tia Dolores, who becomes a main character in the story, she is just, I think, a few years older, than Ana, Josefina's eldest sister, who is an adult. And Mama Montoya was just a few years older than Dolores. So, do you like the song? It is called Sobre las olas, over the waves. So the characters in this story speak Spanish. I am not a fluent speaker of Spanish. I'm just going to tell you this right now. But I have studied the glossary in the back of this American Girl book, and if I am mispronouncing words or not properly defining them, please call me out in the comments, because I like to learn, okay? And I am not a fluent Spanish speaker, unlike Josefina Montoya. So, all 4 of the girls are just grieving the loss of their mom. And in other American Girl books, like, characters would die, of course, like Marta, R.I.P. Marta, and Kirsten. And in Addie, her adoptive aunt, Lula. And in Felicity, her grandfather dies, you know. But these are... Mama Montoya, I'm not saying her death is more important, you know, at all. But she is the leader of this family. She holds this family together. That's another cool thing about Papa Montoya. He's a feminist. Like, he has no problem letting women take the lead in his life. If he sees a woman who knows what she's doing better than him, he's like, okay, you obviously know what you're doing. Please show us how it's done. Papa Montoya is a cool guy. I also headcanon him as a Pisces, because him and Josefina understand one another in a way only Pisces understand each other, and I'll get to that more. So they're all grieving the loss of their mama, and by the time this book rolls around, Changes for Josefina, they are they still miss their mom, of course, but they have learned to handle this grief. They've learned to cope. And when Tia Dolores first came to the rancho in Meet Josefina, the first of the 5 books, the family was broken. They were floundering, and they were... Another great thing about this book series is the central message is about grief and how we cope with it, how we deal with it, and how we deal with it together. It's a great book about grief and about how you process it. In this case, they're processing the grief about their beloved mom, their world shattered when she dies. And they all process it in different ways. So Josefina is the youngest, and she's a very timid, sensitive child. She's a Pisces. And when her mama dies, it exacerbates her shyness. She becomes cripplingly shy. Her younger sister, Clara, is the 3rd oldest, and she copes by holding tightly on to the things of the past, almost hoarding them. Clara is very pragmatic. She's practical. I headcanon her as a Virgo, and she's very straightforward. She doesn't like a lot of frills and fuss. She's going to tell you the way it is. But the shadow side of her is she's so broken by her mother's death. She can't let go of the doll she had. You know, the little rag doll she had that she's supposed to pass on to her sister. That's the family tradition. And Clara just can't do it. You know, Francisca is the middle sister, and boy, is she a middle sister. I headcanon Francisca as a Libra because girlfriend has never met a couple she does not want to ship. Francisca is the biggest shipper in this book. She's a bigger shipper than Josefina, and that's saying a lot. So, I love Francisca. She is hilarious. The book could have written her as this very shallow, vain sister that Josefina has, and they don't. She reminds me of Amy from Little Women. She's just so high maintenance, but she always, like, sees the love between people. Like, Francisca needs to be a matchmaker. She's great. But she handles her grief in rejecting new things that come towards the family after her mother's death. For example, when Tia Dolores first comes to the rancho, she wants to teach the girls to read. When I was a kid, I was like, oh yeah, there was no public education back then. So a lot of people were illiterate back then. especially in agrarian communities where people had to literally grow things to live, they often didn't have time to study. So, this is a great song. I freaking love this song. So, we're just going to keep playing it over and over. So, like, Tia Dolores comes to the rancho and wants to teach the sisters to read, and Francisca just refuses to learn. She's like, this is being disrespectful to our mom. She couldn't read. And, that's how she is coping. And then Anna is the eldest sister, and this is one of the few American Girl stories, or any young adult story I've ever read, where the eldest sister is an adult. Like, Anna has her own life. She has 2 boys and a husband named Tomas, who's a really cool guy. I love Tomas. The little we know about him, he's like the prince in Cinderella. Like, he's a prince, but we know hardly anything about him, which is a shame. And Anna's the eldest sister, so when her mama died, like, the matriarchal leadership of the family, like, all of the emotional burden just fell on her shoulders. And Anna expresses her grief through just being overwhelmed. I love Anna. I think she's my favorite of the sisters because we know the least about her. This is a story for, like, 8 to 13-year-old girls, so of course it's going to focus on the characters who are closer to that age, like Josefina and her younger sisters. But Anna's super interesting. She was an adult when her mom died, but she was a very young adult, and I'm 41, and I still rely on my mom's advice every single day. And I'm sure this family's super tight-knit, so Anna felt that way too. But she's so overwhelmed by this new burden that she can't grieve properly. And I felt that way a lot. After my dad and brother died, because so much fell to me. I had to let mom have that time, you know, and I was just so busy. I was like, we got to take care of the funeral, we got to get the music, we got to get this and this and the coffin and this and this and this. And when my brother, who lives away from home, called me and said, I'm coming to help, I broke down in tears. I had not had a moment to process either my dad or my brother's death before everything came down on me. All this new responsibility came down on me, and I feel Anna's struggle in that way. I would love a spin-off novel about Anna and Tomas and their 2 boys, who we'll talk about Josefina's nephews in a minute. They're very funny. So throughout the story, Tia Dolores comes to live on the rancho, and she teaches the girls things. She teaches them to read and to sew and to play music, etc., etc., etc. But what she really teaches them is self-confidence. And by the last book, Changes for Josefina, you see the girls doing this healthy coping. Josefina has learned to overcome her shyness by performing. What a Leo rising thing of her. And she can play the piano. Very cool. A woman of many artistic talents is Josefina. A Pisces. There you have it. And Clara and Francisca are getting along. They're the siblings closest to each other in age, so they fight a lot. Me and my younger brother were that way. But they're also the 2 that will go to the mat for each other. I love Josefina, I love Clara and Francisca. They're very funny kids. And they have stopped quarreling. They work together. And Anna feels less overwhelmed because people are helping her alleviate this burden. And Tia Dolores has taught the girls so much, and they're like, Tia Dolores taught me this and this and this. At one scene, it's a very cute scene. Josefina's putting the bread in the horno, the adobe oven that was used during that time. It's still used today, I think. And she's putting the bread in there, and she pushes her finger down on the bread to make a little cross, and she's like boasting, and she's like, look what I can do. And all the girls are that way. They're like, I can do this and this. And Tia Dolores is that's great. And she's like, I'm abandoning you now. She's like, well, I'm out. I'm going to just head out. So everyone flips their shit, and they're like, no, Tia Dolores, you cannot leave. And they have the Feast of the 3 Kings. And that's how this book begins. And Josefina's little nephews, Juan and Antonio, are like clamoring all over, and they're like, wake up, let's see what's in our shoes. Because at the Feast of the Three Kings, kids leave their shoes out and put hay in them. And the folklore is that the 3 wise men who came to visit the Christ child would come by their house. And it depends on who's telling the story. I heard it as camels or donkeys. They would eat the hay, and the wise men would leave like little treats for the kids. And it's real fun. When I was about 6 or 7, we knew a family from Spain who came to our house to stay, and we did that, and it was super fun. I love the Feast of the Three Kings. That's a fun one. So, of course, they have a fandango. So they have a fandango, and Josefina plays the piano, and she sees her dad and Tia Dolores dancing together, and her little shipping wheels start spinning. Nobody ships like a Pisces ships. I put in my notes, Pisces are more happy to watch other people fall in love than watch themselves fall in love. That is so true with me. The ships I hold dear are as dear to me as my own romance. I love to watch people fall in love and do healthy, lovely romances. That's my favorite thing ever, because I'm a Pisces. And Josefina, she has that Piscean intuition. Like, she just knows how people are feeling. She just knows her dad and Tia Dolores are in love. She just knows it. And you know who else knows it? Francisca. I think Francisca has like a Venus in Pisces, because she's that way. Francisca doesn't care who's falling in love. She just wants it to happen. She's such a giant romantic. So Francisca and Josefina are discussing this in their sleeping sala. Saya, I think is how you say it. It's a bedroom on their bancos. And they're saying, like, hey, we should totally get Dad and Tia Dolores together. They're made for each other. And Clara's over there just shooting down their ideas. That's how it feels like to be a Pisces and have a Capricorn sibling. You're like, and then we could do this and this and this. And they're just like, they're like the hunter on duck hunt. And they're just like, bam, 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 shoots down your romantic ideals. So, Francisca and Josefina don't give a shit about what Clara's saying. And they just keep pontificating about this hypothetical romance. And there's a tradition where if a prospective suitor is turned down by a young lady, she will hand him a squash. Francisca's so caught up in this romantic fantasy, she's writing fan fiction in her head at a blinding speed. And she's like, and if Tia Dolores refuses Papa, she'll hand him the squash. And Josefina's just like her little hype woman back there saying, like, but there will be no squash in this situation. They're such sisters. I love it. So, I want to talk about Josefina's birthday. She is born on March 19th. She's one of the few American girls that we know her birthday. And she is a Pisces Aries cusp. And that is known as the cusp of rebirth, because it's right around the time when spring first arrives. And I put that Josefina, through her personification of nature, being a Pisces, she can naturally intuit nature and understand it. She has a pet goat named Sombrita, by the way, and she's amazing. Of course, only a Pisces would have a pet goat. I'm sorry. If you are not a Pisces and you have a pet goat, I'm sorry, but it's just such a... What I'm saying is it's such a fucking Piscean thing to do, is have a pet goat. So, of course you have a pet goat. Pisces don't listen to anyone either. They're just like goats. They just don't have hooves. I don't know why Capricorn's mascot is the goat and not Pisces, because Pisces are some stubborn individuals. You wouldn't think they are, but they are. So, and you will see this. Josefina's so stubborn. She's like, listen, love will find a way, okay? She's like, if I have to bend the reality of time and space, love will find a way. So, that is her Aries. Like, that is so Aries. They're like, Pisces is like, they're going to fall in love. And Aries is like, and I'm going to make it happen. So, in the book, there's a lot of personification of nature showing Josefina's connection to it. She personifies the stream. In one book, she personifies the wind as being very playful and teasing her, which is funny because her friend Teresita, who is a weaver in the household, her long-lost brother is named Nayo, which means the wind, and Josefina plays a big role in reuniting the long-lost siblings. It's a great... That's in The Lost Treasure, I think. I think it's called The Lost Treasure, one of the mystery books. It's great. And the book also focuses on how day-to-day tasks help us cope with grief. There's a scene where Tia Dolores has turned down Papa's proposal, and Josefina is so bummed about it. And she's getting water from the stream, and the water's like burning her hands. It's so cold. And she's like, I'm glad I can feel this. I'm glad I can do this, because it teaches me I'm still alive and I can still keep going. And I felt that way too, like, especially after my brother died. I threw myself into work. I had to stay busy like every minute of the day, because that was how I dealt with it. I had to do things. I had to get out there. I had to do day-to-day things. And the book says that, like cooking, dusting, mopping, like fetching water, fetching wood, like these are things that have to keep going. And that gives us hope in a very simple way of, like, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. And we can die along with this person, or we can keep going and we can keep making a world that they would want us to. And that's really nice. I don't think it's a cruel thing to that person's memory. I think it's part of our survival as people. We have to follow the traditions and customs. We have to follow the things that help us grieve and help us cope. But we also have to keep on these day-to-day tasks to make sure we stay alive and the people we love stay alive. And that's a great way of coping with grief. Now, it can get toxic too, okay? And I've been there. I'm a Virgo, all about repressing feelings and throwing myself into work to deal with grief, but it is a nice way to cope as well. And that's what this book is pointing out. So, Josefina goes to see Tia Magdalena, who is her godmother, and she is a curandera in the village, and she's a healer. She's a doctor, you know. There were no doctors back then, so we had wise women. Again, and Tia Magdalena is Papa's older sister, and I think Tia Magdalena taught him to be a feminist because she raised him, and you know, whenever he was a little chauvinistic shit, she kicked the crap out of him. So Tia Magdalena, she's the goat, literally, because they have Sombrita, the little goat. I put Pisces is out here throwing their heart to anyone, because Tia Magdalena is a Pisces as well, and she gives Josefina a milagro charm, and not that one. And please God, not that one. This milagro story ends much happier. So she hears about Tia Dolores rejecting Papa's proposal, and she rips off the milagro and throws it in the mud. And the Papa finds it next to the stream one morning, and he's like, "Oh, is this yours, Josefina?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "It was mine, but I don't want it anymore." And all this time, Josefina has been going under the radar, or trying to do this like secret hookup, matchmaking business. And Papa's just known about it the whole time. He's like, "Look, I know what you're doing, okay?" Which is so. When you're a Pisces child and you have a Pisces parent, I'm from a family of Pisces. My mom is a Pisces sun. My brother's a Pisces sun. All of us have a lot of Pisces placements. My mom's that way. You're not going to get a damn thing over on her, okay? Pisces will see straight through your shit. And Papa's like, "Look, you have to, like, if you love a person, let them go." And it turns into telenovela excellence very fast. I love soap operas. I love telenovelas. I have since I was a little kid. My aunt and her best friend watched soap operas and telenovelas, and that's how I fell in love with them. But this, Changes for Josefina is a very wholesome telenovela. It's not people running off doing torrid, tawdry things. It's just people having miscommunications in the most Virgo way possible. Because they're like, I don't want to hurt this person with my feelings. And the more they repress, the more it hurts people. The Montoyas and the Harbucks would get along very well. They're a lot like my family. We do that all the time. And so, Josefina says, "This is your milagro, Papa. I know your heart's secret desire because I'm a Pisces just like you. I can give that shit straight back, buddy." So, what it feels like to have a Pisces child when you're a Pisces. I don't have the pleasure. My kid's an Aries, so I don't have this problem. Papa, just, of course, being the most low-key romantic guy possible and showing just how fantastic Pisces men are, he writes this, like, love letter of courtship proposal to Tia Dolores and presents it to her. And let me just say, in this era of Tinder and Grindr and like all the social media and all the dating apps and all of this, the long, slow, nice, formal courtship where you just propose courtship to a gal through a long, very nice handwritten letter is a thing of the past, and I'm sad for that. So finally, Tia Dolores reads the letter. She's presented it to her by her excellent parents, Josefina's abuelito and abuelita. They are so cute. Abuelito is this little guy And he's just constantly throwing himself into adventures. He's like, adventure, hell yes! And then Abuelita's like, hey, man, we have a family. You can't go off and get yourself killed. They are amazing. Again, I would read a volume of spin-off books about Josefina's grandparents. They are hilarious. Also, Abuelito is an old guy, but he's so forward-thinking. He befriends this Americano trader called Patrick O'Toole, and they become like besties. I like Abuelito. He's like an old guy. He's very formal. He's very into tradition, but he's not against change. Like, he knows change has to come. And so they give Tia Dolores the letter, and she reads it, and Papa is proposing marriage to her, and it is so hot, y'all. Like, there isn't even any kissing in this scene. It's just like, will you be my wife through this beautiful, long Pride and Prejudice type Jane Austen handwritten letter, my lady? And she's like, oh, yes, sir, I would love that. And she writes a response. And who says romance is dead, right? God, I wish guys would do that now. I wish anyone would do that now. And they do. My husband wrote me so many love letters when we were recording. He's not a Pisces man. He's a Cancer man, which I think are the hottest men in the zodiac. But Pisces men are a very close third after Aries. Just saying. And so, yeah, they get married. There's a beautiful blue sky at their wedding, which just ties together the theme of, like, blue sky, which is, you know, the whole thing about New Mexico is their awesome blue skies. And just that's the color of Pisces. And it gives us a great hopeful feeling as they're watching the church bells ring. And I put in my notes, Pisces heal because they naturally intuit death, the afterlife, spirituality, and the beyond. And that's what Josefina did. She thought Tia Dolores came in and healed her family. But you know what? It was that cute little sneaky 11-year-old Pisces that did it. So that is the Josefina Montoya series. It's, after Addie, it is my favorite of the American Girl series. You can't beat Addie for, like, family feels. But, like, this one is amazing. If you want a great book that will teach you Mexicana heritage and teach you Spanish, teach you history, teach you about family, teach you about coping with grief, teach you about siblings, read the Josefina, I'm so sorry, read the Josefina Montoya series. You will not be disappointed. And my stereo died, so I will see y'all. And have a happy Pisces season. We love y'all. Happy Pisces season.